Welcome back to Enigma Garage. Everything's starting to come together a little bit, but definitely don't have the room, so we need to cut out the reinforcement. I've started to bolt on the bumper on the corners and on the top side, tighten it out because it's probably going to try to drop down. But before I cut the reinforcement, I realized, looking for a video, there's no videos for an under tray. So we're going to knock out the under tray today. I got to take all this stuff down. I was kind of placing it and see what kind of other parts I needed. So today's under tray day. All right, we've laid everything out. If you want to look at any of these, here you go. But I figured out where everything went so you don't have to. We have these clips right here that will go on these tabs. These will go through over here. You have a longer clip that goes on here, there, and on that one, you have these 6 clips that'll go across. Those are going to go bumper side. Do not put those on there. Oh, you'll be taking it off like I did. Long bolts go on the front corners. The rest will be short bolts right there. You have the 10s that will go up to the frame rails. And then clips on the front side. But just to let you know, when you cut out the cross member for the LS motor, there is a difference here of 3/4 of an inch. I took a paint paddle, I marked up the holes, and I'm going to go under the car and drill out these on this paint paddle first. Hold it up there, I'll show you guys when I'm doing it. And we're gonna drill a hole in each side of the frame rail because the brackets are gone. And then I'm going to order a rivet nut tool so we can just put a rivet up in the frame rail, and I'll show you that. That should be in tomorrow. I just ordered it. And then I'll get a 3/4 spacer for aluminum or something, or washers, whatever, I don't know. And we'll put it up there and we can lock those into place. I have already affixed the bumper with some bolts. Tighten this up so it's not going anywhere. A little trimming still needs to be done. That's kind of binding right there, and it's got a weird hump right here, but I'll figure all that stuff out. But I think I'm gonna put the headlights in just so I have that extra support under the headlights because it's kind of flimsy here. Make sure everything's right where it needs to be before I drill holes in the bumper to mark everything up, or to hold everything up, not mark. So I will go through that with you guys. These need to be done first. Then we will put these into the vise, which to do the bends, I'll have the camera over here when I do it also. I've got where I make my manifold flanges to keep them from warping. I just have 2 of those in here. I'll slide the plate in, tighten it down, and bend it so I have a nice even brake line on the bend. Let's get to it. Here we go, all jigged up. We are going to make this top bend right here first, then we're going to make this one and the 90 for last. That way it'll probably just barely tuck over that on the 90. Let's bend her up. And this is the passenger side we're doing first. And there's that side. Whenever you're doing it, it feels completely weird and you're thinking you're going the wrong way. And another thing I noticed right here, so the bend area is where this flange is kind of, that probably should have been brought down a little bit and then rounded out. So had to get some pliers on there to keep that from pretty much distorting and keeping this area flat, which I think I still need to hammer it down a little bit. So yeah, that's a little weird right there, why that slit. And the transition here They probably need to adjust that on their CAD design a little. But everything lines up fine. But if I'm going to put the turbo right here, now I'm thinking I might have to modify the crap out of this thing. That way I have the exhaust side here, and actually it's probably going to be right about here. So I can probably modify that, no problem at all. And the intake side, there we go, the turbo intake is going to go up and forward. So maybe a little bit of that's going to have to get cut out to go to the intercooler area. But we shall see when I get that ready. But that's how you do that. Oh yeah, bolts go through this side. Tabs go this side with the nuts. I didn't snap that on, I just did that to hold it in place. And of course the long one back over here in this corner. So to give you an idea of what I was using, I used this little piece of extrusion from a 3D printer to hammer over that edge to make a really, really clean line on it. And here it is in all of its glory. Too bad I'm gonna have to hack some of this up. It's a shame. I think it looks great. But that gave me a super crisp line right there, hammering it over while in that vise. So definitely recommend the tight area going closer to the middle of the vise where it's gonna have the strongest clamp force, and then using something to hammer it over, and it'll give you a way better line and you won't get close to tearing it. Lesson learned, please do that so it looks better than mine. Now we're underneath the car and you can see how awesome that spacer is going to be. So now with that bolted up, I can put a mark in there and then drill it out for the rev nut and the spacer. Rinse and repeat for that side. Template is down. There's my mark. Got to drill a hole now. Ready to go. There's the hole. And over here, got that one done also. When the rev nuts come in, we'll put those in and get the spacers done, and up goes the under tray. Now we're talking. Gaps look pretty fair for a whole bunch of aftermarket stuff, but body lines and the hood to bumper transition, I still have to trim back in here to get this in a little bit more. Old gaskets, just doing old gasket things. So that's awesome. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with how it's lining up. You got to trim that one, get that in further, but it is much better. So now I can get the tray stuff put up underneath, mark all the bumper notches. I have to get the uppers in when the rib tool comes in, and then cut the rebar out, leaving the hood supports, or sorry, bumper supports right there. So I'm going to cut it here-ish. That way I still have the mounting tabs at the top of the bumper. Till tomorrow when tools come in. Here's the tray. Well, part of it. Put one bolt in, clip. There's that gap I was talking about. And for the sad part, rack's in the way. Probably gonna have to notch this out for the rack, or I might just buy Stevens extensions and redo the mount. Lesson learned, maybe, I don't know, I'll figure it out. But it is even with the subframe for the most part, which those poke down, so I think either way, even with his mounts, it comes down. So either I will dent the lower tray or just cut out that piece. Cut out like a hole for that to clear. But other than that, might have room for intercooler piping up there once the rebar is gone. Probably don't even need to cut that, but I will have to make a hole here roughly for the exhaust and crossover going to the T4, unless I do a rear mount turbo. I'll probably have to think about all this for a little bit. Let's get the other pieces on and mark some holes. And we have more problems. Can't go up all the way. It's hitting the mount. Same thing over here. Everything looks kind of twisted. Like this is this way and that is that way. Not too big of a deal, but cool. Aftermarket bumper problems. So I'm probably going to make the bash bar come around, and this is going to bolt to the bash bar. Bash bar will hold up the intercooler and radiator assembly right here. So yeah, this is just going to have to stay loose. Really, I could take the bumper back off, and then I just know to make my bash bar line up on the edge of this. Then I can make tabs to mount the bumper to the bash bar. So that is what's going on. I mean, it does look pretty freaking nice down here though. I'm happy with it. I'm sorry, LRB, but I'm about to cut your tray up. And over here, once I cut the rebar out, I should have enough room for the intercooler piping right here to come through. Shouldn't be an issue. Cut this down a little bit more for the exhaust to go down and under. So I might have to make a hole here for the T4 divided to come through for the crossover. I think it'll work out. It's just going to take some modification. So, you know what? I'm going to cut the cross member off now. Let's just do it. I'm going to do it right on that little hole right there on both sides. The way I retain the mounting system up there. Bumper's probably going to sag up here, but I can always, once I'm done, I can, I think this bolt's on the top of the intercooler. Yep. So I can use those, and then I'll make a top brace to go over for a couple little stilts and a couple flat pieces to hold the shape of the cover. This RX ain't gonna have a rebar anymore here in just a minute. There's that lean I was kind of telling you about, but time to do some destruction.
I grew up in a place where they told you what to chase, told you how to run the race. Every move was on the page, but I didn't like their way. Had to fight and misbehave, had to find a way to change, had to leave to find my way. Caught up in a daydream, I beat my mind up there almost daily. It's how I pass time, no opinions safely. It's how I understand what I want in this place.
No going back now. She's gone. And now we have plenty of room for an intercooler and everything else. You know what? Let's put some on some jack stands up and see how it looks. I'm just sitting here and just thinking, LRB is gonna hate me. I'm gonna have to cut out over there for the sway bar extension and the sway bar, the motor mounts, the exhaust, the T4, sway bar. Yeah, I'm gonna hack this thing up. And while I was here thinking, I might as well get this all bolted up before I start mocking anything else the rest of the way up. So I need to make sure it's centered back there on this area right here, which is about right there. And then I need to mark around, and I think I'm gonna give myself about a 1/4 inch clearance all the way around this thing. That way I can bolt it up flat, and then I can get these all snug around here. And I think I might just do, this isn't gonna work, isn't gonna go in far enough to hold anything up, unless I'm just supporting this. But if I'm doing that to mock it up, I might as well tighten that up to make sure it's at the right level. So I'll get those cut out, and we'll tighten everything up, and maybe put this slide it up underneath there. That'll probably work. And then I'll start mocking things up and putting things where they need to go. She's snug and supported. It's actually quite even with the bumper. Pretty surprised. Nothing's really in distress. That's aligned pretty decently. There's my cutouts I made. Those worked out pretty good. Got the bolts in. Everything is really nice. Now we'll go to the top side. Do y'all ever just do something amazing that you just sit on your lawnmower and just look at it? Would you just look at it? God, that looks nasty. Ugh. I think I've outdone myself. Intercooler looks amazing where it is and where I have it supported. I have a few boxes under there, so I have the height. I know how far off I need to be. Everything's gonna line up for the piping. That just looks freaking amazing. So I just need the nutsert tool to get that, the back corners finished up. I need to start making a bash bar. This is coming along, and it looks insane. All right, guys, so hear me out. What I'm thinking of, getting a 2.75, that's what this is, taking this off, 2.75 intercooler kit. Hard 90 down, hard 90, then 90 up. Then a 45 right here to the blow-off valve. And from the, going up the 45, get a 2.75 to 4-inch. So I can get a 4-inch blow-off valve coupler or piece of aluminum. So it would just go down and up right in the intake. Short as can be. And then over here I can take the 2.5 to 2.75, put the 2.5 on here, and the rest of the kit, just use one of the 45 bends with that coupler and a straight coupler that's in the kit. Boom. Quick, efficient intercooler piping with a 2.75 kit. I'm liking that. And this is the angle. Let me see. Yep, about right there is how much room I'm going to have for the radiator and condenser setup. So I'm thinking about putting a piece of metal across the top, bolting it down, and then going to these holes up here and then making a brace coming off, because the height is pretty close. I'm pretty sure I can make something work with just a little step down or a couple washers to bring something down and out to go across that brace. Once everything's braced up, I can start fitting cooling. I can start fitting the intercooler piping. I can start getting on this wiring, and she'll be close to starting. Yep, I think that's what I'm gonna do. All right, I'm gonna go order some parts. Hope you all had a good time watching my video. If you have any ideas, please give me a shout. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah.